I hear people saying, oh, it's all celebrities now. Well, no, off. No, it isn't.
Emma, I want to say congratulations, firstly, for making the first Black Mirror episode that made me sob.
Whoa.
I was like, at the end, my heart really just broke. I was really rooting for you guys. But Black Mirror has become such a British institution. So I wanted to ask you, what did it feel like when you found out you got the role?
It was incredible. I mean, it is one of those things where it has become such an institution. I never really thought that it'd be something that I'd be asked to be part of. And I was just doing some interviews with Charlie, and I was reminded of something he was saying that like we do use, it's become like a catchphrase, right? You see something happen in the news, terrifyingly more often than not at the moment, and someone will be like, oh, it's so Black Mirror. It's like, wow, imagine creating something that's become like a language, part of our language. So yeah, basically I was very hyped.
Yeah, it was huge. I love Black Mirror. It's one of my favorite TV shows. And I found out in the room. They told me in the room.
What, the day that I was there and then I left?
Yeah, so we had a weird thing where...
I knew you'd got it before you did.
Yeah, I didn't know. I was doing chemistry reads with actors for Verity. And I met Rosie in that audition and she was phenomenal. And when she walked out, I was like, you have to hire her. They kept asking me to step off the camera, step out of the frame. Do you remember this?
Yeah, but I knew by then that it was you.
I thought I was auditioning and I was like, why do they keep asking me to get out of the frame? And like, they turned my head, so it was the back of my head to camera. Okay. I thought that they'd made me... I was pissed off. I thought they'd call me as a free reader. I was like, this is humiliating.
Oh my God.
I
Actually,
was like,
told me
this is
before.
so embarrassing, bro. Like, what? and then Rosie left, and then I was packing up to go, and they asked me to stay, and they told me in the room. Felt a bit X-Factory. I had to be like,
that's so fun.
Oh my God.
Yeah, did you have to play?
I feel like I had to ham it up.
Right,
no, I was very, very excited.
Yeah.
But I did feel like I had to be.
Oh man, I was buzzing. Like, do you know what I mean? I auditioned for it last year, the previous season for Loch Henry, and I really wanted to do that one because it was set in Scotland, and I was gutted an English guy got it. So I was like, what? How many times? Like, come on, man, Scottish people, give me a part. But so when it came back in season 7, and I auditioned again and got lucky enough to get it, I was over the moon. But I didn't expect to be playing younger Peter Capaldi. That was like, oh great, more pressure.
I actually, it was more the script. Like when I read the script, I was like, I want to drink milk like a little freak. So badly.
I love that.
I was like, I want to do that so badly. Please will they let me do it? So I actually was more just like, and Charlie writes so well. Like the way he writes, it's so easy to say his lines, and like good writing is just like a present. Like half your job is done. So it was like just getting to play Verity was like, oh, the dream.
I had also really loved the show, do you know what I mean? And so it's great to be involved in like that world, but also specifically like just a fun character, do you know what I mean? And fun fellow actors, do you know what I mean? So it was, you kind of on the day forget that it's Black Mirror, you know what I mean? And you just
rip off each other because the chemistry's there and stuff, which is good.
Since launching in 2011, before we used to see a lot of brand new faces, brand new people bringing to the screen, and now we're getting a lot of household names. So when you're writing the episodes or just bringing things together, do you have people in mind now, or are you still doing like the original casting
Sometimes
process?
it's a mix. I mean, honestly, when you're writing, sometimes you kind of cast people in your head just because it helps you write. They often aren't but sometimes, occasionally they've been the person who's actually in the episode. I think we've got a real mix because we have got some really big stars this season. They're all they're there because they're great actors, basically. But we've also got some people who are possibly less well known, who are sort of emerging talents, and I think that's also a very important bit of the show's DNA that I think sometimes gets somewhat overlooked. I hear people saying, oh, it's all celebrities now. Well, no, off. No, it isn't. Like, we've got loads of actors who people aren't aware of yet, but will be tomorrow, sort of thing.
I feel like there's a good mix.
I think there's a good mix. I'm glad you said that.
I've
got all defensive and angry about it for no reason.
I think we hear like this phrase a lot about like right place, right time, and I think in this episode you kind of show that right place, right time doesn't really exist. You can marry the two. So I wanted to ask, does this episode maybe serve as like love can transcend time and space?
I think so. I think it's about two souls who end up in a place and really resonate with each other. And I think it's about connection, and maybe to sort of distill it into a little bottle as a message. It's like, it doesn't matter. You could be anywhere. You could be from two completely different periods of time. And it could be the most unlikely love story, but if there is connection there, that will prevail.
Yeah. Love will prevail.
Love
in the
will
end.
prevail.
Always. I also just love the idea of reimagining a classic film
I know.
as a queer love story.
I know.
And so I just wanted to ask, I love classic cinema. If there was a classic film that you could reimagine as a queer love story, which one would you pick?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm obsessed with Bringing Up Baby with Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant.
Yes.
I just think it's the most insane, incredible story, and I would love to. If I could use Redream, I would be in that.
Okay.
And then everything's obviously better if you make it queer. So that.
Who would you play though?
Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah. I see
She
that.
has a lot of fun in that.
Right, let's put that in the universe.
Let's put that in the universe.
Maybe not use Redream, but I think we can still.
I think we can still remake that. Maybe.
We can still do that.
Yeah.
Just to ask about how the message is maybe that you are the person you are when you're 13, but do you believe that the people that you knew in school have potentially not changed at all, or is there room to change?
I think Verity and Maria are particularly Verity, which is great to see that because we all have that in us. But I think, which is what's so great about Maria, is that we can resonate with all these characters, but they might be one part of us that we probably had to put aside. But Verity and Maria, it's like this part that we maybe feel like we can't express.
Yeah.
They're using it to the max. I think it's in us everywhere, but it's a bit more buried than with these guys.
I think people are capable of change, absolutely. But I think your essence is your essence. You are who you are, baby. And there's a great quote, I forgot, it's a Buddhist quote that says, if you think you've reached enlightenment, go spend a week with your family. And like, I love it, because I think even when I go back home, I just turn back into my 15-year-old self. It's really hard not
Mom!
to. Yeah. It's really hard not to be like, oh, like that. I talk and I'm like, what the hell? So I think them meeting each other again brings that back out. But I guess also their behaviours have also rewarded them. Like, that's probably a reason why Maria is so successful and good at her job. Part of the reason why you're amazing at technology and invention.
Yes.
So they have
All those
rewarded
evenings
us. So
spent at home.
really, like, there's been no reason to get rid of those traits.
Yeah.
This episode is quite different to the rest because you have a direct continuation from Bandersnatch. Was that easier? Because the world has essentially been maybe built for you, the vibe of it has kind of been built for you. So did you find that easier, or would you have rather like started from something like from scratch?
I think like it was an acknowledgement of it in my head, like where, you know, there'll be interest because of that. Because Will and Asim are in this episode, that people be like, oh my god, this is the Bandersnatch sequel. And obviously it's not entirely a sequel, so it's a bit like, and you're a bit like, I knew that would come with an expectation, them being in it, and like I knew that would be. It kind of did make you want to made me want to raise my game and just go like, oh well, people will veer to this maybe first, or like one of the first few they watch. It was intimidating in a sense, but at the same time it was like the set design is so brilliant anyway that it feels so lived in the 90s, so it made it easy to get involved in that.
Technology is such an integral part of the show, of the series. Has there ever been a moment where you've had an idea that seemed quite far-fetched and then you read about it and you're like, wait a minute?
Yes. Yes, and in fact, there's even an idea which I keep picking away at, that I haven't done yet, that I keep slightly worrying, will this look like retrospective documentary by the time we do it? But you can never quite tell. And quite often we've done episodes that I think, oh, that's a long way away from happening, and then like 2 weeks later, suddenly something happens that I don't think we did last season. We did an episode, Joan is Awful, which was about sort of AI generated video on some level, and I don't think at that point I'd quite seen how quickly it would get like photorealistic.
But we did know we had to do it last season.
We did know. Oh, let's get this
out.
done
Oh, okay.
quickly.
Because you're always deciding. Charlie has so many ideas, and towards the end of the season, he's writing as we're shooting. And towards the end of the season is the first time that you are both looking at the season you have, and hopefully, touch wood, projecting the season in the future. And so every once in a while, the end of the season, he's like, this idea or this idea. And I think Joan was one where we were like, we better go now.
Definitely.
Next season might be too.
And I suspect this season, Common People. I
Yes.
suspect the tech in that will be sooner than, even though it's obviously quite far-fetched, I suspect the tech is probably happening, about to be launched.
We need technology all the time. We need it in our lives. Right now, we can't live without it. This kind of explores the obsession around it. It's almost like I need a direct hit IV drip on my computer right inside me. Or do you think that as technology is growing, are we potentially wanting more to remove ourselves from it a little bit more, to actually touch grass?
Yeah, the hardest thing is to know how much you need, how much you don't. Either you put like the moderate things, like the timer things that like switch off your phone or whatever and stuff. Because I think it's good to detox. If you go a day without your phone, you sometimes feel good, especially if you're an actor. Because like if you follow other actors, you see them being successful, and you're happy, and you're happy for them. No, but you're happy for them. But at the same time, you're like, oh, I feel crushed now. I'm jealous, kind of thing, which most actors don't admit to.
Yeah.
But,
That's true.
No, but it's true. So I think sometimes a detox is good. You need it. You need it just to clear your head.
But have you ever thought that potentially your episode has inspired?
The actual. Well,
actual
occasionally I know that it
There's a few people
has.
trying to sell something right now that I think is pretty Charlie Brooker inspired.
Well, I've seen definitely. I think I saw once somebody who, this was a couple of years ago now, when somebody was doing a sort of AI, like a chatbot for grieving people. And they said in some interview, I watched the Be Right Back episode of Black Mirror and thought, that looks like a good idea. And I thought, I don't know that in the episode we show that being necessarily a good idea. Or certainly there's a nuance to that. I can see, if somebody's grieving and they like derive comfort from something, I don't want to judge them, but equally there's, potential downsides there.
The problem maybe does watching up to halfway and they're like, we'll ignore the lessons.
Yeah,
Maybe they just switched it off
That looks
and
fun.
went off. They turned it off halfway through to work on their business plan.
Before anything goes wrong, they're like, okay, I've got that.
Bastards monetizing my content.